question.
Good evening and welcome to the June 28th meeting of the Lake Bluff Village Board of Trustees. Clerk, please call the roll. Please.
Trustee Inkeman.
Here.
Trustee Brienne.
Here.
Trustee Fisher.
Here.
Trustee Marquis.
Here.
Trustee Rappin.
Here.
Trustee Ryder.
Here.
Please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, we have a proclamation declaring June 2021 as LGBTQ Pride Month. Sorry, LGBTQ Pride Month. Our Community 2023 strategic plan, a sense of community guiding principle include being inclusive, welcoming, and open-minded. As such, we're designating June 2021 LGBTQ Pride Month, whereas the battle for dignity, equality, and personal safety for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning people is reflected in the tireless commitment of the LGBTQ community, as well as dedicated advocates and allies who strive to forge a more inclusive society. And whereas President Bill Clinton on June 2nd, 2000 declared June Gay and Lesbian Pride Month to commemorate the June 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Lower Manhattan. And on June 1st, 2009, President Barack Obama expanded the commemoration further by declaring June to be Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month. And whereas LGBTQ Americans, including those who live in our local communities, face hate and discrimination simply for being who they are and for who they love, and there remains much work to do, extend the promise of our country to every person. And whereas the landmark Supreme Court decision of 2015 guaranteeing marriage equality in all 50 states was a historic victory for LGBTQ Americans and continue to affirm our belief that we are all more free when we are treated as equal. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Régis Charlot, Village President of the Village of Lake Bluff, Illinois, do hereby proclaim June 2021 LGBTQ Pride Month in the Village of Lake Bluff and call upon the people of Lake Bluff to wholeheartedly recognize the importance of LGBTQ to our village and nation and the progress we have made in ensuring equal treatment for all people. These days. Next, we have a consideration of the minutes of the June 14, 2021 Village Board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any changes? Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brienne.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Marquis.
Aye.
Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Trustee Inkeman says aye too.
Trustee Inkeman, sorry.
Non-agenda items next. The village president and board of trustees allocate 15 minutes during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the village board of trustees on any matter not listed in the agenda. Each person addressing the village board of trustees is asked to limit their comment to the maximum of 5 minutes.
There is somebody in the virtual world that would like to speak.
Please.
Mr. Porter?
Hello, can you hear me?
Clearly.
Excellent. Good evening. My name is Todd Porter. I'm a resident at 456 Sunrise Avenue, Lake Bluff. And I would like to take this opportunity to personally thank Officer Damon Schmidt for his service to the village. Though I try to keep my interactions with Lake Bluff PD to a minimum, Nevertheless, I have had periodic planned and unplanned meetings with Officer Schmidt over the years. And each time he was a credit to his profession and the village. In those moments, I felt he went above and beyond his duties as a police officer. He was understanding, positive, honorable, and helpful to me and my family. And I don't think I'm alone in this view. I'm sure that you all are aware that there are elements of our community that gossip about the performance and personalities of various village public servants. And while I have a strict policy to avoid such conversations, I do note that never have I heard a bad word said about Officer Schmidt. And perhaps more importantly, on several occasions, I've heard people say that he's a great guy, which according to my rough scorebook is better than most of the Lake Bluff public servants with whom I'm personally.
Let's call this meeting to order.
But to be frank, it's difficult for me for several reasons. First, I already have enough oversight by village trustees in my personal life and really didn't need to risk starting an investigation of body cam footage of my past police involvement. But the main reason this is not easy is that actually Damon was a villain in the Porter household for years. And though I'm now over it, I had my reason. Not because I coached against him in Lake Bluff House League softball. Sure, he was aggressive, he played to win, and those cute little 9-year-old girls he coached were terrifying. But to his credit, to my knowledge, he never threatened to arrest an umpire, which would have been unfair as I had no such arrest powers. No, Damon's real sin was he taunted Lake Bluff, and frankly, me personally, with one of the best softball pitchers in the area, his daughter Sadie. We saw him coach her, we saw her pitch, we knew how good she was. Just as I was anticipating a Lake Bluff softball dynasty with my daughters, poof, Sadie was gone. It was coming. Quality softball players were rare in Lake Bluff back then, and now, sadly, they're almost extinct. But I suppose, looking back, it would have been selfish and wrong for me to kidnap 11-year-old Sadie against her will just to win a few more softball games in a community in which it was slowly dying. And so with that personal maturity and hindsight, I've been able to get over it. And now publicly declare that I'm grateful for Officer Schmidt's service and protection of my family and the Lake Bluff community over the years, even though we never enjoyed the thrill of Sadie's fastballs.
Thank you.
Thank you for this very fine comment, Mr. Porter.
Poof, poof, he's gone.
Yes. You wish you could do that.
All right. Do we have any more comments
I
online?
don't think so.
Anybody in the,
Tough act to follow.
That's right.
thank you very much. Next is our, next, we do set the order of a meeting. Are there any requests to alter our regular agenda order? If there is no objection, I would like to take item 12 and 13 now and return to the regular order afterwards. First is resolution number 2021-30, honoring the public service of police officer Tim Sardar. Whereas Officer Sardar has served the residents of the village of Lake Bluff for 20 years as a member of the Lake Bluff Police Department, and whereas Officer Sardar began his law enforcement career on June 11, 2001 as a patrol officer And whereas through his esteemed professionalism, Officer Sardar excelled in his assignments as evidence officer, field training officer, firearms instructor, armorer, range master, and MCAT, major crash accident team member. And whereas Officer Sardar was awarded the Lake Bluff Police Department Life Saving Award in December 2011 for his efforts in preventing a resident who was contemplating drowning herself. And whereas Officer Sardar was awarded several department commendations, and he received several letters of appreciation from residents for the manner he responded to handle various calls of situations. And whereas Officer Sardar Ferber has served his county as a member of the United States Coast Guard since 2004 with 2 deployments in Operation Deepwater Horizon 2010 and Operation Enduring Freedom 2017, bringing further credits and recognition on himself and the entire Lake Bluff Police Department. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the village president and board of trustees of the village of Lake Bluff, county of Lake, and state of Illinois that the village of Lake Bluff hereby recognizes Officer Tim Sardar for his dedication and many significant contributions to the village of Lake Bluff over the past 20 years and congratulates him on his retirement from the Lake Bluff Police Department, and that his resolution be incorporated in the minutes of this proceeding, and that an executed copy of a resolution be delivered to Tim. Please stay.
He's not able to make it tonight. He's got one day left of his military obligation. Moved from Ohio to Galena. Just couldn't make it. But, appreciate it.
So, Mr. President, you still need a vote on that last resolution. You need a motion.
Do I have a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Voice vote.
Clerk, please call.
You can just, all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is a resolution next is resolution number 2021-31, honoring the public service of police officer Damon Schmidt. Whereas Officer Schmidt has served the residents of the village of Lake Bluff for 20 years as a member of the Lake Bluff Police Department. And whereas Officer Schmidt began his law enforcement career on July 2nd, 2001 as a patrol officer. And whereas through his esteemed professionalism, Officer Schmidt excelled in his assignment as a patrol specialist, juvenile officer, and evidence technician. And whereas Officer Schmidt was awarded the Lake Bluff Police Department Life Saving Award in February 2011 for his effort in rescuing a resident from a burning residence. And whereas Officer Schmidt has been awarded several other department commendations and letter of appreciation from residents and other local police chiefs for the manner in which he provided invaluable assistance in handling various calls and situations. And whereas Officer Schmidt further has served his country as a member of the United States Coast Guard from 1989 to 2001, and served in the United States Coast Guard Reserve from 2001 to 2012, participating in Operation Katrina. He further served as Senior Reserve Advisor for Coast Guard Station Milwaukee and Coast Guard Station Wilmette Harbor, bringing credit and recognition on himself and the entire Lake Bluff Police Department. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the village presidents and board of trustees of the village of Lake Bluff, county of Lake, and state of Illinois that the village of Lake Bluff hereby recognizes Officer Damon Schmidt for his dedication and many significant contributions to the village of Lake Bluff over the past 20 years and congratulates him on his retirement from the Lake Bluff Police Department, and that this resolution be incorporated in the minutes of this proceeding, and that an executive copy of a resolution be delivered to Damon Schmidt.
Thank you guys so much for the nice award. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve the village, the men and women of the Lake Bluff Police Department. It's overwhelming, and I really appreciate all the kindness that you've shown my family and me, both professionally and personally. It's helped me as a single father be able to follow through on a lot of things, and I really appreciate the opportunity here. Thank you.
We still need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Voice
vote on
Voice
favor.
call.
Aye.
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 Sorry, Regis.
I see.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Next is our warrant report for June 15 to June 28, 2021. Expenditure of village fund for payment and invoices are in the amount of $2,042,307.02 for June 15 to June 28, 2001. The reports and documents are attached. Again, the warrant for the documents are the warrant for report for June 15 to June 28, 2021 for $2,042,307.02 dated 6/15 to 6/28/21. The invoice register report shows check with the status of open or paid. All checks with the status of open are computer-generated checks for the board final approval. Checks with the status of paid are manual checks processed. Do I need a motion?
Need a motion? Yeah.
Could I please have a motion on this item?
So moved. Second.
And
Question?
any questions on this report?
If it's all right, I had a question about the payment that was made to the Nettle Creek Nursery. I noticed it was a large payment, and we had had some items in the capital budget relating to that. So I'd asked Drew if he could just tell me a little bit more about this payment and what it represented.
Sure. Jeff, are you ready?
I am. I just need the ability to share my screen.
Okay, stand by. You should be good, Jeff.
All right, well, the best picture I could find, you should be seeing it now, was from a presentation I did to the board probably 2 years ago. But this is our storm sewer pipe going down the slope of the ravine, or it was our storm sewer pipe on Forest Cove. Essentially, we replaced this with a PVC pipe that is not exploded. So you can see the erosion that was happening here because our pipe, which drains our street, had failed pretty poorly. So that project was to replace this pipe that you see here. And also we had replaced a similar pipe about 30 years ago at the end of the cul-de-sac, and the slope restoration we had done was not good. And
needed some work. So we redid that slope as well on Forest Cove at the end of the cul-de-sac. So that was the project. It was completed late last fall. We had some disagreements with the contractor on their invoices. They've been unable to provide justification for their overages. So we're put in here just to pay them up to the contract amount and call it a final payment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions on the warrant report? So can clerk, can I please call for roll?
Trustee Markey,
Aye.
trustee Rappin,
Aye.
trustee Ryder,
Aye.
trustee Inkeman,
Aye.
trustee Brienne,
Aye.
trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Next is our finance report. We now have the June finance report. Finance Director Bettina O'Connell, could you please provide highlights?
Sure. Good evening. The monthly sales tax revenue on a cash basis for May fiscal year 22 is $233,904, which is $5,232 or 2.3% greater than the May fiscal year 21 cash receipts. The calendar year first quarter automotive sales tax returns reported by the Illinois Department of Revenue have rebounded to $526,881, which is exceeding the 10-year average by $135,000. Building permit revenue for fiscal year 22 to date is $28,605, which is $4,360 greater than the same reporting period last fiscal year. General fund fiscal year 22 total revenues of $815,509 are $251,894 or 44.7% greater than May of fiscal year 21 revenues. Fiscal year 22 current expenditures are consistent with or less than budgeted. The May expenditures of $523,974 are $46,171 greater than the expenditures for the same period in fiscal year 21.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the finance report?
So moved. So moved.
Any questions?
I'll ask a quick question. The 40, and maybe you said this and I missed it, the 44.7% greater in the general fund, that's just timing on real estate taxes, right?
44% greater in the general fund. It's timing on the property taxes, and it's also a difference in the sales tax returns from this year versus prior year when we had COVID downturns.
Okay. And then on the American Rescue Plan, do we have a plan on how to spend that money?
Not yet. That's one of the conversations we're going to have upcoming with the finance.
Great. Okay, that's it.
Sure. Thank you.
Any more questions on the board?
I was just going to ask a follow-up question to Steve's. So Bettina,
Mhm.
what would be the difference between the general fund total revenue for that same month in fiscal year 19 to 22? What would be the percentage difference? Is it outlined in the report? If I missed it, you can just point. Just to give me
It
some
is on,
context.
so on page 2 of the report, there is a comparison of sales tax revenues that does look back to FY20 and FY21. FY19 would have fallen off from the prior month's report. I don't have the exact percentage, but I can get that to you if you'd like. Not a problem.
I was just trying to put it into context because I thought it might be more COVID related than anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
If you still need a second, I'll give a second for the motion.
Trustee Rappin,
Aye.
trustee Ryder,
So anybody in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Next, we now have our village administrator report.
I have no report tonight.
Next is our, Mr. Friedman, do you have a report tonight?
Just briefly, the governor, we've talked about the authority to hold virtual meetings. I know we're not holding virtual meetings. We're kind of back to pre-pandemic rules, but the governor did issue an executive order on Friday extending his disaster declaration until July 27th. And said in there that as of July 27th, he would no longer be extending the part of it that allows virtual meetings. So everybody else will be required to catch up where the village is as of July 27th.
So Peter, do we have an option to follow the governor's guidance and extend that through the 27th of July?
It's, yeah. The village president made a finding. In order to have an all remote meeting, the governor has to have a disaster declaration and the head of the public body has to make an individual finding that it's not practical to hold in-person meetings. The village president, as the previous village president, made that finding. And that finding is in place until further notice. So at any time we can go back, as long as the governor's disaster declaration is in place, we can go back and have virtual meetings, but that's only going to last until July 27th.
Right. Well, we never like people to go on vacation. So if you're on vacation until July 27th, could you in fact video in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the village is doing more than most by doing the hybrid. So it's really allowing everybody to participate in one way or another. The governor's rules are really about you all, that we can't have a meeting unless that we could have a meeting without a quorum being physically present. After July 7th, that will be the legal requirement again, as it was before the pandemic.
I just had a quick question. When we go back to the full in-person meetings, we can't do anything remote. Does that include Drew, like Bettina and Jake? Will they need to be here or can they still be remote?
They can still be remote. It
Okay.
only applies to the elected officials.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the
Okay.
public.
Okay.
And the connection, there really is no connection with the next item about the village president's declaration of extension. That's not connected to this conversation you're having now.
That's correct.
So I just want to clarify that.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's my report.
Thank you. Next is the village president's report, and that will be the consideration of an extension of a village president's declaration of civil emergency. On March 18, 2020, then President Kathleen O'Hara issued a declaration of emergency for the village of Bluff. The declaration related to the COVID-19 emergency. The declaration, among other things, provided that physical fitness facilities and membership sport and recreational clubs must close. The village may enter into contracts for the emergency purchase of goods and services. The village administrator may implement emergency staffing protocols pursuant to the village respective collective bargaining agreements. And 4, directed village officials and employees to cooperate with other government agencies. Subsequently, the village president issued an April 23rd supplemental order requiring the use of face covering in the village. A similar requirement was imposed statewide on May 1st by order of the governor. The village president has the authority to issue the declaration and any supplemental orders pursuant to the enabling provisions set forth in the Lake Bluff Municipal Code. However, the board has the right to no longer extend the village president's declaration of civil emergency. To that end, I, Régis Charlot, village president, suggest that this declaration not be extended. Do we need?
Well, if the board does not act, it'll expire at the adjournment of this meeting.
So to that extent, do the board recommend to continue this emergency, or do we, or are you following this recommendation?
And to be clear, the order itself contained really provision for 3 areas of activity around emergency purchasing, emergency staffing, and cooperation with other government agencies, which the village is not utilizing, and doesn't appear that we'll need that tool.
I'm comfortable with letting that expire at this point in time.
As am I.
I am as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. We're done. Any question on the board? Next is the acceptance of a correspondence. Is there a motion to
Second.
Any discussions?
It's a voice vote.
Hearing none, clerk, please call the
No,
roll.
you just do all in favor.
Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next is item number 14, a resolution approving a contract for the provision of electricity for the village electricity aggregation program. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Much of a village building regulations, no. In March 2000 and,
Not this model.
in March 2012, following a successful referendum, the Board of Trustees established an opt-out electrical aggregation program. Electrical aggregation allows the village to select an alternate supplier for the village residential and small commercial electricity customers. Over the past several years, the village has cooperated with the municipalities of Deerfield, Glencoe, Island Park, Lake Forest, Northbrook, Park Ridge, and Skokie to cooperatively solicit proposals as the North Shore Electricity Aggregation Consortium, called NSEAC. Members of the NSEAC used their aggregation authority to enter into agreements in 2012 to 2015 and 2016 to 2017 with alternate suppliers, and by doing so generated over 1 million cost savings for residents and certain small businesses. However, aggregation ended in 2017 when cost savings were no longer achievable. Since 2017, members of the NSEAC have monitored the market and shifted effort to energy policy, including the Elgin Solar Facility for village facilities and the Village Community Solar Program for residents. The NSEAC members have developed a new aggregation model that generates savings by moving some, but not all, residents to an alternate provider. The generated savings can be then used as a cash pool by the municipality for other purposes. In November 2020, the village board amended the framework for the village aggregation program accordingly. The attached file presentation provides additional information on this new model. After the village board's action, the NSEAC conducted a request for proposal and subsequent to the close of a request for proposals, conducted multiple rounds of negotiation to extend the contract terms due to adverse pricing developments in the marketplace. Ultimately, NSEAC selected MC Squared Energy Services, LLC, as the winning proposal. The final agreement calls for a 36-month term and an annual payment to the village of $30,000. This is a substantial increase from the $12,900 in annual revenue originally projected. As some of you may recall, the new aggregation model assumes that these funds would be used to purchase renewable energy credits that effectively increase the community's use of renewable resources to fulfill its energy demand. To this end, the contract provides for an optional mechanism whereby MC Squared will act as a broker for the village purchase of RECs using some or all program revenue. Some NSEAC municipalities are considering directing these funds to sustainability programs or other initiatives. No revenues are anticipated in this fiscal year, and the attached resolution provides that the Board of Trustees will designate the use of these funds as a later date. So I understand we have Mark Pruitt, the NSEAC consultant, present to answer any questions from the board.
Mark, are you there? Mark present? Can you go make sure he's unattended, being able to speak? Sorry for this technical difficulty. For some reason, I got kicked out.
I don't really have a question. I just have more of a statement.
Sure.
Can I share that now or should we wait? until-
No, I think it's a fine time.
Okay. I know on the last board, we talked a little bit about that the renewable energy credits. So that like this we get this little pool of money and then what are we going to do with this little pool of money? So that I think originally was $12,900, but now it sounds like it's going to be $30,000.
Yeah, more than twice that, yeah.
Right. So, I feel like that would be a great amount of money for us to use for sustainability programs in our municipality. But also looking at maybe, because the number is a little bit higher than we thought it was going to be, maybe we can split that a little bit. Some of it could go to the renewable energy credits and then maybe a quarter of it goes to that and 3/4 of it we keep for our municipality. I'm not sure how they'll allow us to do it. But I think I'd like to see the bulk of that stay in Lake Bluff and us be able to do something with it locally. Just my 2 cents.
So yeah, again, you don't have to decide tonight. That's the
Right.
good news. But I think again, the direction from the last board was rather than buying those recs, let's go and try to use these monies for the SEC's initiatives or other village initiatives that are sustainable oriented. So Mark, are you there?
Are there any questions ahead of Mark being online? Additional
Drew,
questions?
is that any
Yes.
better?
Yes, that's better. Great. Hey,
Thank you.
so Mark, I don't think there's actually any questions tonight, so that was a lot for nothing, so apologies, but
But, well,
hold on.
If we still have the opportunity,
Yeah.
I wondered, given the lead up to having some adverse pricing developments in the marketplace and then ending up where we did, which is in a much better position, I was wondering if you could just help us understand it all is kind of, it's just a new concept. And I think just hearing a little bit more about how we ended up where we are might be helpful.
Certainly. Drew, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. I'm not a technical master of the technologies yet. This is Mark Pruitt. Yes, to your question, this is a new process of approaching aggregation. As we mentioned in late last year, we have been using this with the village of Oak Park and a few other smaller villages. More recently, the city of Evanston approached this or adopted this approach to their municipal aggregation program. And really, it's a recognition that it's very difficult in today's market to beat the ComEd rate with a price that would consistently be lower than the ComEd rate. So therefore, what we're reorienting the program to move from delivering some cost savings to consumers and repackaging that as a contribution to the municipality. And most municipalities have decided to use those funds for sustainability programming. We've seen a wide range of program adoption, and from the perspective of the program, there really is no limitations. This is a contribution that's made to the village, and it's village funding that is subject to board direction and approval.
And again, the difference between the expected 12,900 versus 30,000, can you elaborate more a little on that?
Certainly. When we first started looking at this program, which was spring, early summer of last year, the villages and NSEAC asked me to make an estimate of the municipal contributions that could result from the contract. At that time, I made the projections, and I tend to be very, very conservative. So in essence, my projections were the source of the number for the 12,900. The $30,000 number was what the bidder actually provided. And if the bidder is willing to live with that number, then very well. Again, seemed prudent to have a very conservative number going in so as not to oversell the potential benefit to the municipality.
So that 30,000 is not a guaranteed number, isn't it, based on our overall usage? And it's, some type of a difference in the rate that would create that 30,000, and it would go 30,000 for 2022, 2023, and 2024. So each year?
The way the contract is written is that the supplier, MC Squared Energy Services, is required to make a payment of the $30,000 to the municipality in each of the following 3 years, each of the 3 years of the contract. So it is not necessarily dependent upon volume. It is a set number for the municipality.
Thank you.
I have a question just to make sure I understand. So it sounds like there was an opt-out program that started in 2012. There was significant savings through 2017 to the tune of about $1 million. And then we were no longer saving. So is that opt-out program gone? And now we're just defaulting to ComEd being our provider, and that's the plan going forward?
Currently, that is the case where accounts, residential and small commercial accounts in the village are served by ComEd unless the account owner has decided to enter into a supply agreement with a retail energy supplier. In the proposed program, the residents will receive an opt-out notification. They will have the option of not participating in the program just as before. The difference here is that the price that will be offered to the residents is a price that matches the ComEd price to compare. It's a price that's published every month. And so those that are in the program will pay the same rate that an account that remains on the ComEd default rate pays. So there'd be no difference between price for the program versus accounts that are still served by Commonwealth Edison.
Thank you.
Any more questions on the board? Thank you. Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ryder.
There was a motion.
I don't have a motion.
Okay, sorry. So is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ryder,
I'm going to abstain.
trustee Inkeman,
Aye.
trustee Briand,
Aye.
trustee Fisher,
Aye.
trustee Markey,
Aye.
trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Next is item 15. This is our second reading of an ordinance comprehensively amending the administrative and enforcement provisions of the village's building regulations, Title 9, Chapter 1 of the Municipal Code. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Much of a village's building regulations are local adoptions of published national standards, such as the International Residential Code and the International Building Code. Updates to these codes are published every 3 years, and these revisions would need to be adopted by the village to become effective locally. The village generally runs one revision or 3 years behind in adoption, consistent with other Chicagoland municipalities, as well as the City of Lake Forest, who performs building plan review services for the village pursuant to an intergovernmental agreement. As part of a current code update cycle, staff has prepared a number of revisions to Chapter 1 of a village building code. These provisions are authored locally and apply broadly to many different types of projects. Many of these provisions were introduced in 2010 and have not been updated since. The attached revisions are comprehensive and aim to improve usability and consistency. Notable changes include building permits are now explicitly required for projects to change the grade of earth by more than 3 inches or to alter the earth in a way that changes the drainage of water across a property line. In order to provide for greater review of changes to stormwater drainage by the village engineer. Different locations where general submittal requirements were provided have now been consolidated into section 9.1.5. Similarly, different locations that applied to work practices such as construction hours have been consolidated into section 9-1-5. Provisions about moving buildings, section 9-1-16, the assignment of addresses, section 9-1-17, and appeals and interpretations concerning the building code, section 9-1-24, have been updated and modernized. Demolition requirements pertaining to historical preservation are relocated adjacent to similar sections. The Architectural Board of Review reviewed and proposed revisions at its September 1st and October 6th, 2020 meetings and recommended the village board adopt the ordinance. The village attorney prepared further minor clarifying changes thereafter. These changes were held pending the resolution of the Historical Preservation Commission's recommendation, which would also affect these provisions. The village board approved the first reading of the ordinance at its June 14th meeting. Any questions?
Have we heard any outcry from architects, residents, engineers, any of the like regarding this?
No.
That's great news.
Any more questions? I think we covered the motion, right?
You had them up front, but do you do a motion to approve?
No.
them?
Well, was there a motion? No. The answer is no. If there was, I'm sorry, I didn't have the notes.
I had Inkman and Ryder, but I think that's.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Inkman.
Aye.
Trustee Briand.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is item 16. This is our second reading of an ordinance adopting by reference the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance. Is there a motion to approve a resolution?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. In 1992, the County of Lake adopted the Comprehensive Watershed Development Ordinance, for purposes of setting forth minimum requirements for the stormwater aspects of development through Lake County. Each municipality within Lake County was required to adopt and enforce the provision of the ordinance. In response, Lake Bluff adopted the WDO for the first time on October 12, 1992. Since the time of the initial adoption, the WDO has been amended countywide on 8 separate occasions, most recently in 2020. On October 13, 2020, the Lake County Board adopted the amended countywide WDO. Following the most recent amendments, the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission notified all municipalities in Lake County, including Lake Bluff, that they must adopt the newly amended version of the ordinance. The most significant revision to the WDO is the update to the rainfall depth, duration, frequency tables, which increases the amount of rainfall that is considered to be a 10, 100 or over frequency event. This will increase the required capacity of new storm sewers, stormwater detention basins, and other infrastructure required for development projects. Adoption of the updated WDO is necessary in order for Lake Bluff to remain in good standing in the FEMA National Flood Insurance Program and to maintain Lake Bluff community certification status with the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission. The amendments do not result in any major change to the overall administration and enforcement of the WDO. The village engineer recommends approval of the ordinance. The village board approved first reading of the ordinance at its June 14th meeting. Any questions? No? Hearing none. Do we have a roll call?
Trustee Brienne,
Aye.
trustee Fisher,
Aye.
trustee Markey,
Aye.
trustee Rappin,
Aye.
trustee Ryder,
Aye.
trustee Inkman.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is a public, number 17, a public hearing to consider awarding a franchise for the collection of waste from non-residential locations and any proposed franchise fees. Is there any motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
A resolution, it's just a public,
Public hearing, I'm sorry. To approve this public hearing.
you don't need a motion.
Your opening, your declaration has opened the public
So be it.
hearing.
A lot of.
Yeah.
As directed by the village board in November and consistent with state law, staff is concluding a competitive request for proposals process to award the village exclusive residential and commercial solid waste hauling franchises to a private firm. So a state statute requires that in order to award the village's first commercial franchise, and I quote, after issuing a request for proposals, the municipality may not award a franchise without first allowing at least 30 days for proposals to be submitted to the municipality, to holding at least one public hearing after the receipt of proposals on whether to award a franchise to a proposed franchisee, and 3, providing at least 30 days public notice to the hearing. At the public hearing, the municipality must disclose and discuss the proposed franchise fee or calculation formula of such franchise fee that it will receive under the proposed franchise. Accordingly, staff proposed 30 days advance notice of a public hearing scheduled for Monday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. to satisfy requirement number 2 and 3 listed above, since its March 22nd, 2021 meeting, and most recently at its June 14, 2021 meeting, the village board has continued the public hearing. The village evaluation subcommittee and staff continues to negotiate with proposers and accordingly are not yet ready to recommend award of the commercial franchise. Accordingly, staff recommends the village resume the public hearing, accept any comment, and continues the hearing to the village board's next meeting on Monday, July 12, 2021 at 7 p.m.
Drew, can I ask, has anybody from the public ever made any comments for a public hearing on this?
They haven't.
Okay.
What's the time frame on this one?
I think ideally, we'll have enough information to bring this forward for the board to consider approval of contracts at the next board meeting. That's the goal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so without objections, we will continue this hearing on July 12th. Thank you. Next is our trustee report. Before any report, I would like to congratulate the 125th committee for their mural. I am absolutely floored. I think this is beautiful. For the sign and for the paintings you guys did, I love it. Thank you very much. So Joy and your committee, thank you very much. I think this is awesome.
And thank you. I'd just like to add on to that, because we're letting people know, September 25th, 2021 is going to be the big 125 plus one birthday bash at the Lake Bluff Park District. So mark your calendars. There's going to be a band there. Bushwood's going to be playing, and we're going to have fireworks, which were donated by Elko, Life and Annuity. There'll be drinks from the Lake Bluff Brewery. So mark your calendars.
So I actually made a mistake. This is the 125th murals. This is the bricks by Krugel Cobbles. This is an awesome job. And the Marine landscaping by the Village Hall Fountain. That work looks like it has been there for years. It's very nicely done. And I'm very thankful for your community representing the community to say that this is very, very nice.
Thank you. Thanks.
Any trustee report? Moving on. Consideration for item number 19. Consideration of the May 24, 2021 executive session meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
June 14th.
June 14, I'm sorry about that. June 14.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or concerns? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Markey?
Aye.
Trustee Rappin?
Aye.
Trustee Ryder?
Aye.
Trustee Inkman?
Aye.
Trustee Brian?
Aye.
I understand there is no executive session tonight. Correct. Thank you. So this concludes our village board meeting tonight. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great evening.
We need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I heard that was a motion. to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Second.
Thank you. And please, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Good night.